All right. All right. Okay. So I'm a wait a little bit because every time I start these lives, like the first, I don't know, 15 seconds, my stuff gets cut off. But all right. So it's, we're now 24. Okay. Whatever. Let's get started. All right. So, as I'm sure many of you are aware, that recently Fresh and Fit, their podcast and stuff, they made an announcement. It might have been like a week ago at this point that they are no longer being monetized on YouTube, which for them they've expressed, this could be the end for them, particularly on YouTube if you know they ultimately get kicked off the platform. But right now they're not able to receive super chats or any kind of monetization. And but they also expressed in their video that that doesn't really matter that much to them because they're willing to take the pay cut and all that stuff. Um, I I think this is really interesting, and I wanted to touch on it. I'm not going to do a deep dive that like a lot of other people have done, because I think this is a big deal, but not probably for the reasons that they think or the reason their supporters think. For them, it's about like infringement on freedom of speech or whatever, so on and so forth. In their video, they talk about not knowing why they're being demonetized and why they're having issues on this channel. I mean, if you've been creating content with a mask of free speech and don't think there are consequences for the things that you're saying, you're kind of delusional. And they said for since like 2020, they've been doing this. So for 3 years, they've made content that's misogynistic, divisive, and at times even racist. And so you think just because you can talk freely, there won't be consequences to it? Like that's really strange. That's really strange because again, I understand the idea of free speech and you wanting to share your ideas, but to not think anything's going to happen to you because you have the ability to say whatever you want, again, is very delusional. Like whether you want to call it or blame it on the matrix or whatever, because I agree, I think there is a system that has a huge impact on the way that we live our lives. But within this society, within this matrix that we live in, people also have the option to speak back. So as much as they have this platform and this option to have free speech, people have the option to respond. They have the option to say, no, we don't want this. And using platforms like YouTube or any other platform, you can complain. And complaining is a form of free speech. You can say whatever you want. And so if you're creating content that's destructive to people, that's toxic to people, people have the free speech, the free ability to protest what you're doing. And I'm sure that's what's happened. You continue to call women 304s, you continue to spew out misogynistic rhetoric over and over and over again, and then you do crazy stuff that ultimately gets leaked out on the internet, acting like a KKK member and a Nazi. Like that stuff's going to get back to you. And yeah, I understand that they're frustrated and upset that they can't get the funding that they've been getting from YouTube. But again, if your free speech is messing up your bag, how do you think YouTube feels? You're creating content that now they have to deal with all of these complaint cards that are coming in constantly over and over and over again. People threatening probably to leave the platform, to leave YouTube, to not want to support this. I think Google is pretty smart in saying, okay, we see that, for the past 2 or 3 years, not only Fresh and Fit, but you have people like Kevin Samuels or Andrew Tate or so on and so forth. A lot of these red pill guys, they're making a lot of content that it's getting a lot of bad rap. It's getting bad rap for the FBI. It's getting bad rap in the news. It's getting maybe, maybe we should kind of stop supporting this stuff because it's actually becoming a bigger issue. It's becoming a bigger problem. It's being tied to incel investigations that the FBI is doing. Maybe we should start to separate ourselves. But again, you must be kind of delusional to not think that the stuff that you've been making, even though you feel like, oh, this is, pushing the envelope, pushing the edge or whatever. No, it's actually just destructive. It's actually just toxic. And it, it's just wild. I think it's really wild. And in their video, they're talking about how they've helped a lot of men, or supposedly they've helped a lot of men, and they've gotten a lot of messages and stuff. And I find it interesting because even on their channel, like, let me share the screen real quick. Uh, so I'm not subscribed to them, but if you go to their channel, you go back to their oldest like videos and live streams and stuff, right? So based off of this, they stream at least 6 times a week, which is a lot. Granted, I get it. You put in the work, you're trying to help people. Sure. So they have Money Mondays, Womanizer Wednesdays. There you go. There's already, that's not good. Fitness Call In Friday. Okay. And then Fresh and Fit After Hours. And usually the Fresh and Fit After Hours show is when they bring on women that they like to call 304s, and like to embarrass and insult and try to make look stupid, and ultimately use them for attention on their channel. So you have Womanizer Wednesdays, and then 3 nights a week of After Hours, which is, I'm sure, very similar to that. So out of all your content, you probably have two things that could be constructive and maybe beneficial for men. Okay, right. But if you go down their list, and I didn't even go all the way up to today, you go down and you look at the view count of all the stuff that they make. There's three things that I notice, three pieces of like how I would categorize or range their content, right? You have stuff that's less than 50,000 views, things in between 50,000 and 100K, and then 100K plus. Like they're probably their more viral stuff, they're more popular things, right? A lot of the things in that 50K and less range deal with like the money and fitness, the stuff that's should be applicable and helpful to help men become better. Then you have outliers that sit in that 50 to 100K range. And that may be because you have a special guest, or maybe it's a particular topic. But when you get to their viral stuff, 100K and plus, a lot of that depends on misogyny, beautiful women, and sometimes depends on the names of particular celebrities. Like they had Kevin Samuels on there, and that one's like 800K or something like that. It's like ridiculous. It's higher up there in the range of the attention that it gets. And so you're trying to defend your channel like you're actually helping people, helping men. But the majority of the content that you make is based off of treating people poorly. I'm saying, like, that's not good. And so with that, 3 years of that, you don't think there's going to be catch up to that? You don't think there's going to be consequences for that in your free speech? Of course there's going to be consequences for that. Of course it's going to catch up to you. And we live in an age now where that kind of stuff catches up to you faster. Like, I know there are a lot of content creators, a lot of men who want to kind of like go back to the 50s, go back to the 40s, go back to these times where it seems like masculinity and patriarchy and traditionalism and all this stuff was at its peak or whatever. They don't realize that during a lot of that time, only reason it was that way is because so many voices were being silenced. Women weren't able to speak out against stuff. Even if there were men who wanted to push back, their voices were being suppressed. But now we live in an age where everybody has the opportunity to share their thoughts, share their feelings, share their ideas. And so you want to hold on to free speech and be upset when people are talking back against your stuff. And companies who are working with you are saying, I don't want to work with you no more. Even Myron talked about his, choice of having to leave working for the government because they were like, either you do this YouTube thing or you work here. He made that choice. And so everybody has that opportunity. There's nothing to like I don't get it. I mean, complain about what you want to complain about. It's again, it's free speech. You can say what you want to. You can say whatever you want to say. What I really wanted to talk about, and I think is very, very important about this time in regards to the demise of Fresh and Fit, is that this is a very, very critical and crucial time for us as beneficial men. That there is this void being created, and it's a void that's always been there, and the void has been filled with people like Fresh and Fit, Andrew Tate, Kevin Samuels, any of the other red pill guys. Like, I do believe, because in the video Myron mentioned, they both mentioned that they get messages and get contacted from guys who watch their channel and say, like, watching your stuff, watching this kind of content has saved them or has helped them. I think the thing about it is, just because somebody felt saved in that moment or whatever, that doesn't mean they're being saved into something beneficial. Just because someone pulls you into a raft in the middle of the ocean doesn't mean you're actually getting to a better place. A lot of this red pill content is a life raft for men who are broken, hurting, and need help. But the raft isn't going anywhere productive. Like, yeah, you can be lost at sea and somebody can pick you up in their dinghy. But if you ain't making no progress to get to land or anywhere better, you're just sitting out there in the middle of the ocean, getting crazy, burnt off the sun, getting scurvy. I don't know. But I think that's the case for a lot of this content and what it's been for a lot of men, especially over the past, 2 or 3 years. We've been seeing a lot of change in our society and in our world, and things are falling apart and things are changing dramatically. And there are a lot of men who don't know what to do and don't know how to navigate relationships, don't know how to navigate mental health, don't know how to navigate even understanding their purpose and existence here in this world. And so they find these life rafts. They find Kevin Samuels, they find the Fresh and Fit, they find Andrew Tates, they find so on and so forth. They find this community of other men who are just trying to survive, but they're not thriving. They're actually not getting anywhere beneficial. They're not growing, they're not advancing. All these life rafts are just coming together, but they're still stuck in the middle of the ocean, still not making any progress. And the thing is, over time, just like we're seeing with this channel and we've seen with a lot of other channels, the raft only lasts for so long. Even if you're driving a car and you're driving on a donut, you're supposed to put on the donut and go get a new tire. You're not supposed to just keep driving on the donut. And what we've been doing in our community and as men, we've been driving on donuts and living in life rafts. But those things will start to corrode and they'll break apart and they'll fall apart. And then we'll be back in the same position that we were before, stuck in the middle of the ocean looking for help. And so it's important and imperative of us as beneficial men, as beneficial Black men, if we're striving to do that. And I say this to myself too, that we need to step up to help our brothers because they're going to be looking. There's men looking for help, looking for ways to progress, looking for ways to get better, to actually heal the hurt that they have, to heal the brokenness that they have. And again, they're reaching out and looking for whatever they can find. And a lot of these platforms is the easiest thing that they can find. It's the easiest thing that almost immediately touches on the pain points that they have. It makes them feel important. It makes them feel validated. And it encourages very often toxicity that makes them feel like, oh, I'm good, I'm good. But it's not actually helping them. It's not actually helping them to become better. And so, in the wake of the demise of Fresh and Fit, in the wake of the lost life of Kevin Samuels and the demise of Andrew Tate and all that other crap that's happening, we have to step up. Because if we don't, another raft will come. Another donut will be put in place to try to fix it. But we need to step up and make sure that we're sharing our voices, sharing truth, and speaking against all this nonsense that's happening. Because if we don't, we will continue to lose more brothers to this, and our community will continue to suffer. So no, yeah, fresh and fit, yeah, they honestly they deserve to be demonetized and to be kicked off the platform because they're not producing anything constructive, not in a holistic sense. They're just a donut on a car that's driving off the side of the road. We need to replace all the tires and get the car back in the right direction. But that requires us to actually start speaking up. It requires us to speak against the nonsense. It requires us to support one another. It requires us to keep showing up. So there is this void. And again, it's a very large void. And it's deeper than just relationships, it's deeper than fitness, it's deeper than money. Like there is a heart issue that is plaguing so many men in our community. And it's impacted by our mental health and our emotional health. And we have to provide those resources, whether it's YouTube channels like mine or any other resources that are out there that actually encourage and challenge men to be better for themselves, not just for relationships and not at the expense of other people, not at the expense of women, not at the expense of Black women, tearing them down just to make yourself feel better. You are not healing if you're doing that. You are not actually getting better if you have to punch down and push people down just so you can feel like you're at zero. That is not progress. That is not constructive. That is you just trying to patch up the raft that you're on, but you're still stuck in the middle of the ocean, burning up, thirsty, and dying. So we got to do the work. We got to stand up, support. If there are smaller channels, support them. If you have the opportunity to talk to other men in your life who really depend on this stuff or really turn into stuff, challenge it. Like, yo, why are you watching this? Why are you watching this trash? And again, some people are going to want to stay on the raft. Some people are going to want to stay in the ocean. And it sucks, but they made that choice. But we can at least try, and we can at least do our best effort to put out more images out there and actually send out boats and helpful resources that can rescue people from a destructive place. So with this change and all this stuff happening with Fresh and Fit, it is an opportunity that we need to step in and serve and help, to help our brothers, to get better ourselves, and to ultimately impact our community for glory and for good. So we just got to do the work, you know. But all right, if you appreciate the stream, let me know your thoughts and like, share, and subscribe. And I will talk to y'all later. Peace.